Good morning, my lovely students, grade 5A. Today we are going to move into a new lesson after the food chain, which is about decomposers. But before we start with this lesson, I have to revise with you some notes about food chain. Let's move together to a whiteboard here. Okay, so before going or moving to this new lesson, I have to revise with you some notes about food chain. But first, before we start, I have to choose a student to give me an example of a food chain. Please, who can give me an example of a food chain? Start, Walid. How does the food chain start with? Yes, start. Excellent. The food chain starts with a green plant. Excellent, Walid. Mute yourself again. Now, Abbas, can you give me an insect or animal that can feed on this green plant?
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Excellent, teacher. Caterpillar, or we can say also grasshopper or other insects. Excellent, teacher. Jude. Another animal that can feed on caterpillar.
Field mouse.
Field mouse. Excellent. Thanks a lot, teacher. Dima. Dima. Now, Dima, which animal feeds on field mouse?
The owl.
The owl. Okay, excellent. So, thank you, Dima. Now, the owl is the last consumer in this food chain because no one can eat the owl. But, who can tell me what happens when the owl dies? Now, please lower your hands and you can raise your hands from the beginning. I will see which students raising their hands from the beginning. Elia, what will happen when the owl dies? These dots, Elia, these dots means when it dies. Okay, what will happen, Elia, when the owl dies?
When the owl died, the field mouse will the plant will dry its body and take from it
Minerals?
and another animals will eat its meat.
Excellent, thank you a lot. What, Fatima? Fatima Habibti, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Yes, Miss Zainab.
Yes, Habibti, you can start answering.
Yes. When the owl died, they take her soil to the plant.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. Let's move to other students. What? Muhammad? Walid.
When the owl dies, he will be bones and other animals eat his meat.
Okay, thank you, Amar. Thank you, Habibi. Deen Ftuni, can you give me an animal that can found in the soil to take the minerals of this animal?
The caterpillar.
Can you find an animal in the soil which take the minerals when the owl dies?
Yes.
Which animal live in the soil and take
The worm.
the worms? Excellently. So please mute yourselves again. Now I can say here another living thing which is earthworm or spider or ant, etc. Lower your hands again. Now I have to find another student, please, new student. who didn't answer till now? Please, teacher, I have new students to answer. Elia, lower your hands. How many links are there in this food chain, Muhammad Isa? How many links, Muhammad Isa, are there in this food chain? Three links in this food chain. Thank you, Muhammad. Jude, how many links in this food chain are there?
4.
4. Thanks a lot, teacher. Thanks a lot, teacher. Mute yourself again. Now, let's move to another student. Dima, how many links are there?
4.
4. Thank you, teacher. Fatuma.
Yes, there is 4.
4. Thank you, teacher. Walid.
4.
4. Thanks a lot. So all the students who are raising their hands have answered. All the students that are raising their hands answered. What, Muhammad Isa, again? You answered, teacher, before.
Yes.
What? What, teacher?
ما أنت قلتيلي محمد.
Okay. In order to answer this question, I have to ask you to name what are the kinds of living beings. What are living beings? Of course, you have to raise your hands, and when the question is finished or answered by other students, you can lower your hands again. Please, each time, in order not to be sad or embarrassed or other things, the first student who will raise his hand will answer. Now, please, Walid, start. What are the living beings, Walid?
The living beings are animals, plants, and humans.
Very excellent, Walid. Very excellent, Walid. The living things are all humans or people, animals, and plants. These are the kinds of living beings. These are the kinds of living beings. So, using this hint or legend, how many living things are there in this food chain now? How many living things are there? Fatima.
3.
How many living things are there in this food chain?
Yeah, there are 4.
Now, what is your answer? How many links, Fatima, are there in this food chain?
5.
5 links. The living things are called links. The living things in a food chain are known as links. Teacher, I said before, when this question is answered, you have to lower your hands. Now, how many Now, indicate the producers. Indicate the producers. Jude.
The producers are the green plants.
Okay, how many producers are there in this food chain?
There is one producer, is the green plant.
Excellent, teacher. So I have only one producer in a food chain. In a food chain, only one producer is introduced. Excellent. What can we say for the other links? What can we name them? Dima.
Consumers.
Very excellent, teacher. The other living things are called consumers. Okay, Dima, do I collect or take the earthworm as the consumers? No. So the earthworm is not a consumer, it is a decomposer. What can I say or tell it, ya Dima?
Decomposer.
Excellent, thanks a lot, teacher. So decomposer, teacher, is the animal or living thing, it can be also plant, is the living thing that comes, Fatima, after the last consumer, comes at the last or end of the food chain, that break down and take all the minerals of the dead animal or dead plant. For example, I can say that the ant is a decomposer. Why I can say that? I can say that because the ant, as you know, is a social insect that works hard to find its food. It searches for its food from the remains of other living beings. For example, anything that falls down on the ground, on the floor, on the land, anything that will remain, the ant takes its food. So I can say, for example, now the ant, what does the ant eat? As you said, or as you answered, that ants will take the remains of food from sugar, from wheat, from cakes, okay, from all food, also from the dead leaves that can fall down from the tree. So the ant is a decomposer because it feeds on these dead living things. This is a feedback about the food chain. Thanks for this session.